Podcast, right? It's called
Yeah, All Even Podcast.
All Even Podcast. You can find them on Instagram, Twitter. They do a great job. And today we're just going to talk about the updated sports headlines. And today's a Heisman Trophy ceremony, so we're going to get to that also and see what's the update on there. But I just want to say thank you to both for joining today's segment, the NR Hour Show. But how are you guys doing so far during this tough time?
Doing as well as we can, I think, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's we're living, man. Everybody's good, everybody's healthy, so we just go as we go, man. We deal with it.
Yeah.
This is our new normal, so it is what it is.
So I'm going to ask you guys, when did you guys start? I mean, obviously, I know I already did a segment with you already, but when did you guys partner up with this podcast, and what's it like working together? And obviously, you guys are growing. I like what you do. You guys are awesome, and you guys are doing great stuff. So, but first, when did you guys start partnering up with each other with this podcast?
Go ahead, Mike.
Well, I started partnering with it. How long ago was this? Ever since you started, really, right? Like 6 or 7 months ago.
Nah, it's longer than that, man. Longer than that.
Well, since you started the podcast, but
and
have been, trying to get something going together for at least a year or so.
Definitely.
Since we met a little bit over a year ago, so it's been probably around that long, anyway. But we've been, really hammering out content for the past, I would say, 6 months or so.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So obviously, what do you guys take me back to your first episode you guys did together, if you guys remember that, and what was it like, the chemistry like that time, and what are you guys seeing between you two, like the growth and from the first episode you guys did?
I'll let you take the reins on that one, Barry.
All right. I mean, the thing is, when I met Guido, we both went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. We went at separate times. So he went, a few years before I did, and I was doing a project one day, and I was asking for his opinion. So, he was there overseeing everything, and we just started talking. We just started talking about sports and all that stuff, and he was just like, man, it's really good talking. I'm like, yeah, it's cool, man. Like it felt like I knew him for like years, you know what I mean? And we just continued to build that chemistry, build that friendship, build that bond over that time. And then, he's been an aspiring broadcaster for a while now. He got some big breaks. He was out there on the radio. Mike, you advertise yourself, man. He was on Sports Map Radio. He was with what's the other place? I'm sorry.
I was with the Worldwide Sports Radio Network also.
Worldwide Sports Radio Network. So I know
two people. I know two people from there. Earl Marks and
nice
and Speedy.
Yeah, Errol Marks was my boss.
Right.
And Speedy Petey was my producer for a while. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, man. So he was doing that. He was doing really, really good with that. He was starting to get his flow, and he got a sound down. And then I was actually, once I graduated, I was doing a whole bunch of spots. I think I was doing weekly spots, right, Mike?
Yeah, something around it. Yes, you were.
Yeah, I was doing weekly spots. And then it kind of just grew from there. Our chemistry has always been really, really good. I'm talking about from the first day. It was never any awkwardness. It was just, hey man, what's up? Hey, how you doing? All right, cool. Let's talk sports. So it's just seamless, and I'm sure you see that when we have our IG lives, our All Even lives. It's just seamless. We can be able to speak about anything, and we can kind of make each other finish. We don't cut each other off. It's not awkward. So it's a really good connection that we have, and the more we do it is the more we're going to get, really, really good at it. He's much younger than me. But he's advanced past his years, you know what I mean? So, it's really cool. It's really cool.
So, one of the things I like, if I could just say something too, Nathan, I was, one of the things that I really like about the dynamic that Barry and I have is that, we obviously have our things in sports that we agree on and everything like that. But for the most part, even outside of sports, we disagree on a lot of things. I come from a very, conservative, right-leaning point of view. He comes from the more liberal, left-leaning point of view. And, that one of the things that we've really tried to develop together, and I think that we've done a really good job with, is, we can appreciate the dynamic that we have given our differences in philosophy, right? So it's one of those things where you don't see it too much in sports media, right? There's a lot of agreement. There's a lot of not wanting to make people uncomfortable and everything like that. I feel like when it comes to us, because our conversations can just be so civil and, well-informed and honest and everything like that, because Barry and I trust each other, I feel like we could open another door to that sort of aspect.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's all about, if you guys, like, for example, if you guys want to team up with someone, it's all about trust and the chemistry too. And like, for example, when I had Ariel as my co-host, we already had the chemistry from the beginning, because I already knew that she was going to bring it in. Unfortunately, now with their opportunity in Alabama, she's gone, and I told her that I would love to have her back. If everything works out well, she can come back as a co-host. But in the meantime, I hope I can find someone that can help me out, because at the end of February, I'm going for my correctional officer academy. So I need someone.
Congrats, man.
Yeah, thank you. I need someone to take over this podcast. I don't want it to stop. I'm at 655 episodes, so.
Listen, you gotta keep it rolling, man. You can't stop now.
Yeah, but for you guys, what are you guys most looking forward to in 2021? Obviously, we're trying to make a positive year, but what are you guys most looking forward to for your podcast? And are you guys currently working on some big things?
Oh yeah, I mean, we definitely have some things in the pipeline, some big things in the pipeline. But it's all, we want to kind of keep it close to the vest, because I'm one of those people that I don't want to throw things out there, and then when it doesn't work out, and it's like, hey, well, I just want to make sure everything is, and I'm sure Mike is like this too. Everything is kind of in order, and then when it's time to go, we're off to the races. What do you think about that, Mike?
Yeah, I can certainly attest to that. There are definitely some big things in the works that I'm sure we don't want to announce quite yet. But there are some big things coming, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to enjoy what we have coming. It's going to be something that's very different. Yeah. Not a lot of, we're going to try and do something that's really advanced. I think people are going to enjoy it when it comes out.
Yeah. All right. So we just got some breaking news on the Heisman. So DeVonta Smith has won it.
Oh wow! Really? Yeah. Okay.
So I'm happy about that, because we're obviously Ariel coming from Alabama. I'm an Alabama fan too, like her. So roll Tide. I think this is the right choice, because he had a fantastic season. He was on beast mode. I think this guy's legit. He's gonna be an NFL. He's ready, NFL ready. I already said I penciled him going to New England in the draft, and that's how good he is. New England needs a receiver, and they need to find a way to get this guy in New England. But what are you guys' thoughts on this when they announced him as a winner just now?
Listen, man. I mean, when you look at his statistics, it's undeniable, right? I mean, like I compared his stats to Jamar Chase from last year, and they're very eerily similar in regards to their numbers. And, they're different receivers, but they're both impact players.
Right.
So when you have those type of guys that you can trust to be able to go get you a catch. It's 3rd and 7, it's 3rd and long, I can be able to trust you to be able to run the right routes and deliver for me. So, if he continues this, this particular production, obviously he's not going to have this type of production in the NFL right away. Yeah. But if he continues to work hard, he can be one of the real good receivers in the league.
All right.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that DeVonta Smith outdid his quarterback Mac Jones.
Right.
If there was going to be somebody else that was going to win the Heisman, I thought it was going to be Mac Jones. But you know what? You got to give the kid credit, right? Like it takes a really special talent to take the reins over at wide receiver. Once Jalen Waddle went down, you knew that Devontae Smith was going to see a lot of double coverage. You knew he was going to see a lot of coverage over the top. And the guy still managed to pull down 20 touchdowns. Like, it's unbelievable what he was able to do. 105 catches, over 1,600 yards in 12 games. He was truly the best offensive skill player in the country this year. And Nathan, you said before that, you got him penciled in at the for the Patriots at 15. I'm not sure he makes it that far. I'm really not. I'm really not sure, man. I mean, Devontae Smith could be the very first wide receiver off the board, and that could be top 5. So you never know. But I am surprised that Devontae Smith's got it over Mac Jones, but he certainly deserved it. I'll say that.
Yeah, just to add to your point, Mike, I think this year's draft, man, we may see 2 wide receivers go in the top 10. When was the last time you saw that?
Right.
You know what I mean? So, it's really going to be an interesting draft.
Like, when was the last receiver that won the Heisman, though? When was the last receiver?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah.
Who was that?
Who was? Honestly, who was it?
I don't know.
Was it Desmond Howard?
Maybe.
But it might have been, honestly. Like, who knows?
Yeah.
But no, it's gonna be interesting to see where he lands. But man, Mac Jones, like, obviously there's a case for Mac Jones. He had one of his best seasons this year, and obviously they're fighting for a national championship coming up soon next Monday. Yeah, so I get where you're saying about Mac Jones, but I think when it comes to like overall like stats numbers, I think Devontae Smith he's number one, because obviously Mac Jones throws the ball to him, but I think Devontae Smith, man, this is a rare talent that we have seen in the game of football, and whoever gets him in the NFL draft, whoever it is, they're gonna get a heck of a player. Generational type. I'm not going to say he's going to change the franchise alone himself. Obviously, you need other players, but I think he's going to improve the team's offense in a heartbeat. I think that's how good he is.
Okay.
Yeah, I think he could be that good too. I don't know if I'm ready to say that he's the best wide receiver in the draft yet. I still think that Jamar Chase at LSU is the guy to have. I think that guy is purely special. But, again, Devontae Smith is going to be right up there with Jamar Chase and, Jalen Waddle and Rondale Moore and guys, some of the Chris Olave at Ohio State. Like, he's going to be right up there with the top receivers in the draft. And it wouldn't surprise me if, I forget exactly what year it was, I want to say it was 16 or 17, when we saw Corey Davis, Mike Williams, and John Ross all go in the top 10.
Right.
And we could very well see that again this year.
Yeah, definitely. I agree.
So before we switch gears, let me get your guys' take on this big national championship game. First of all, let me get your reaction to what happened to Clemson Saturday night, because I didn't expect this this blowout, but I expected Clemson to keep it close, and I didn't expect Ohio State to win. But what are your thoughts on? Obviously, Alabama was expected to win, but what are your thoughts on this Clemson Ohio State game?
I mean, you can pin it on Dabo Swinney running his big mouth. There's a lot of times where, a head coach will accidentally, give the other team bulletin board material to be able to motivate themselves. Like, sometimes when you're trying to motivate your own team, you end up doing that to the other team. So, right. and listen, we all know that Trevor Lawrence is a generational talent. And we all know that Justin Fields is a really good quarterback. At the end of the day, Justin Fields had a great night. Like, he may never have a game like that for the rest of his career in regards to how excellent he was, how perfect he was. So, you just got to take your hats off to Ohio State. Clemson is still a good team, but they got railroaded. That's all that happens. It does happen.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the big turning point for me in that game was when Skalski got ejected for targeting on Justin Fields, and I think that really put a damper on the momentum that Clemson had. It took away their defensive leader, and from that point on, that was when Justin Fields really took off. And again, Barry, you're absolutely right. Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence is without a doubt the better player.
Right.
But Justin Fields had an unbelievable night. I also want to say this too, though. I think that part of it was Ohio State had only played 6 games before then. Clemson played a full season's worth of games. Clemson played double the amount of games that Ohio State played. So I think part of it that a lot of people aren't talking about is Ohio State, their bodies were so much fresher in that game
That's a good
than
point.
Clemson's.
That's a good
So
point.
I think that, and I think you're right. I think Dabo Sweeney kind of, poked the bear a little bit, maybe a little bit too hard. But listen, Dabo Sweeney's been like that his entire career.
Yeah,
He's always been a guy to kind of, I want to say like he politely talks smack.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
He never says that anybody sucks, but he'll just be like, I don't know, man. If I was this, but like he always has like that kind of thing too. I love Dabo Sweeney, but you know what? I think you're right, Bear. I think there was a little bit of poking the bear going on, and honestly, it was just Justin Fields after not having an amazing performance in the Big Ten championship game against Northwestern, when everybody was kind of saying, oh, Zach Wilson, without a doubt, QB2, and now he throws 6 touchdowns against Clemson, and we're all reminded of how good he is.
Right. Nah, I definitely agree, man. Definitely agree.
So, what do you, obviously, Alabama's going to be favored in this national championship game, but what do you think Ohio State needs to do to win this game?
Well, I think, honestly, in my eyes, what Ohio State has to do is they got to be able to control the time of possession in the game, right? Because Alabama is going to do everything they can to control the game from the ground, control the game from these short intermediate passes. Devontae Smith is going to have over 10 catches in the game. Najee Harris is going to have a ton of carries. Alabama is going to try and control the clock. The most important player for Ohio State in the national championship game is not going to be Justin Fields. It's going to be Trey Sermon, right? If Trey Sermon can run the ball like he did against Clemson, or maybe not even that well, but if he runs the ball at least a little bit like he did against Clemson, and Ohio State can control the pace of the game, control the clock, and everything like that, and not give Alabama a lot of room for mistakes, I think that Ohio State could have a good night. But again, it's going to be really hard. There's so little room for error for Ohio State because Alabama has been torching teams all year long. I mean, Alabama's clearly been the best team in the country all year. So I think it's an uphill battle for Ohio State, but I do think it's possible, yes.
Okay. Yeah, I got Alabama winning, roll tide. So they've been great all year. You can't go against Nick Saban and Mac Jones, obviously, Devontae Smith. Najee, hey, I tweeted this a couple times. Put some respect on Najee Harris. This guy is a stud.
He's good. He's good.
This guy is
I think he's the second best running back coming out of this year's class. The only guy I like more is Travis Etienne, but that's it.
Yo, Travis Etienne, man, this guy's gonna be. I think he's gonna be the first running back off the board, in my opinion.
I agree.
Yeah. So let's switch gears to the NBA season. Obviously, still early, but the Nets are really struggling right now, and Kevin Durant is gonna miss the next 3 games. But first, what are your overall thoughts on this crazy NBA season so far?
I mean, it's interesting. You have a lot of teams that are surprising. Like, everybody saw the Hawks make their moves in free agency, and everybody projected that the Hawks would be good. But sometimes you can put pieces together and it doesn't fit. Things don't work. But for what I'm seeing right now, the Hawks look like a playoff team right now. They look like a 4th or 5th seed to me. So, they're a good story. I like what I'm seeing out of the Cavs as well. They look like a pretty decent young team. Obviously, I'm not concerned about playoffs with the Cavs. It's more about going through phase 1. Phase 1 to me is you got to make sure that you get those young guys experience, get them reps, get them playing time. And if they make the playoffs, great. If not, it doesn't matter. Phase 2 is going to be then adding veterans to that team. Like, obviously, they have some veterans now. They got Kevin Love. But they need some real guys to be able to come in there to kind of, push them in the right direction in regards to getting to the playoffs. Same thing with the Knicks. The Knicks are having some success right now with 4-3. They need to go through phase 1, just like how the Cavs need to. So there are a lot of teams that are looking really, really good. The Suns look good. I think everybody expected that as well. It's only 7 games, but for the sample size that we got, there's a lot of good teams in the league right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's right now the current state of the league right now is that I think that there's a clear-cut favorite in the West, and I think there's a clear-cut favorite in the East. And I don't think that we had that last year because I think it was a kind of a muddied West a little bit between the 2 LA teams and Denver, and Houston was in that conversation also. But and then the Eastern Conference was Boston and Toronto and Milwaukee, right? Like it was kind of muddy waters. I think this year in the NBA, it's pretty clear-cut. The Lakers are the favorite in the West, and the Bucks are the favorite in the East. Like, I think that's pretty clear cut right now. And Barry's exactly right. There are some teams, out there that are, some of these younger teams, especially in the Eastern Conference, that are kind of, showing themselves a little bit. They're approaching that next stage of development. The Orlando Magic are in that conversation. Right? Atlanta, like you said, is in that conversation. Cleveland has done a nice job. I mean, it actually looks like, Barry, and I don't know if you agree with me, but it actually kind of looks like that Darius Garland, Colin Sexton pairing is working.
Oh, yeah. Well, listen.
Those guys can score.
You know what it is?
Really
they remind me of obviously a younger more like it's more like a Dame CJ thing in regards to the size of the backcourt, not the skill set, but how small they are. That's where the NBA is going now. Like, it used to be big guards. Now it's small backcourts. Now it's small starting fives. It's more versatile starting fives. So
yes.
Garland and Sexton actually fit the new NBA mold than anybody else.
Yep.
So they're really successful, man. It's fun to watch because both of those guys are hard-nosed, tough players. Colin Sexton, I never thought that he would be this good coming out.
The guy's averaging 25 a game.
He is a bulldog like I've never seen it, man. Like, he's a guy. How tall is Colin Sexton, Mike? He's about 6'1", 6'2". He plays like he's 6'6". So the guy he's tremendous, man. He has a little Dwayne Wade in me in regards to his toughness. So I like what I'm seeing out of that team. I really think that Andre Drummond has been a real good piece to that team.
Love Andre Drummond.
Big piece to that
I'm a
team.
Cavs fan, if you can't tell. But listen, I will say this though. I think a lot of what we're seeing in the NBA this year, and I think it kind of proves my point on what the NBA actually is, because I think the misconception is the NBA is a 3-point shooting league.
Yeah.
A lot of people say that, right? If you can shoot threes, you can win. I actually disagree with that. I think that the NBA is way more of a playmaking league than it is anything else. If you can, move the ball well and have guys that can create their own shot, and if you have a disciplined team that doesn't take dumb shots, and again, like I said, move the ball. That's what gave the San Antonio Spurs so much success over that however long span, 20-year span, where they were dominant. It's nobody moved the ball better. They never took a dumb shot, right? They just had smart basketball players. And a lot of these young guys that are coming out, this past year's draft might not, produce a superstar, but it produced a lot of seasoned, young, smart players that are going to be successful in the NBA. So I think you're going to be finding a new breed of basketball where it isn't necessarily all about 3-point shooting, but it's about moving the ball and creating your own shot. And I think that's what we're seeing now.
Yeah. It's gonna be interesting to see, because Cavaliers, obviously, if the Cavaliers keep playing like this, if they can add a piece or two in the trade deadline, I do really believe that they can sneak into the playoffs this year.
I mean, the biggest thing that we have to see from all of these young teams before we can kind of jump the gun is the next 30 games. If any of these young teams can be able to split or be a little bit over 500 in these 30 games, then you can actually say they legitimately have a shot to make the playoffs. So these next 30 games are very, very important, because there's a lot of times where these young teams, they kind of hit the wall a little bit. Yep. They'll probably have a little losing streak, and losing can be contagious. Like, if you start to believe it, then the losing streak kind of stretches to 5, 6, 7 games. So, they have to now, if they have a little 2-game losing streak, they have to stay the course, stick with the game plan, and try to break through that slump. And that's how you develop habits as a good team. So I really want to see, between the Hawks, the Knicks, the Cavs, all of these other, the Magic, even the Suns. I want to see these teams be able to kind of weather that adversity, because losing streaks will come. This is the NBA. It's about streaks. So if they can be able to kind of weather that in these next 30 games, and we're really going to see exactly what these teams are about.
Yeah. I'm glad you brought up the Knicks, Barry, because I feel like we'd be doing it a little bit of a disservice. Tom Thibodeau has done an incredible job with that team. They are disciplined. Yeah. They play hard defense. Yeah. Like, that's a good team. One thing that I've noticed about the Knicks, and you're going to agree with me on this, Barry, if RJ Barrett is hitting shots for the Knicks, when RJ Barrett shoots 3 for 22, they lose.
Yeah.
If RJ Barrett shoots 10 for 19,
they
the Knicks
they have a chance.
Put up double-digit wins.
Yeah, they have a chance.
They have talent. It's not like the Knicks are bad. The Knicks have talent. It's just it's shot, like I said, playmaking and shot selection and all of those things crucial to them, and they're getting better and better as the weeks go by.
And also, just to add to your point real quick, Nathan, it's what the biggest improvement that I've seen with the Knicks is Julius Randle.
Yep.
That's the guy. I think everybody on that coaching staff, especially Tom, the assistant coaches, I think they worked with him the most, because he has such a versatile skill set. He can rebound, he can pass, he can score. Now he's starting to finish with his right hand. He's more patient. He's using his physicality. He's not just bowling over into people anymore. He's kind of, he's using his angles. That guy is the key to the Knicks' success. And if he continues to play like this, he may be playing himself into another big contract with that team, because he has really been a real special talent for them this year. It's a complete 180 in regards to what I saw from him last year. It's only 7 games, but I'm impressed.
I mean, look at all of those athletes in the front court.
Yeah.
Right. Julius Randle, when Obi Toppin comes back, and Mitchell, I mean, they are, that front court alone is going to put up 55 points a game.
Yeah.
Julius Randle's going to put up 20, 25. Obi's going to put up 15. They've got absolute scoring machines that are athletic, that can play from all over. I mean, if Julius Randle could learn how to consistently hit a 3, that would be nasty.
Yeah. And listen, if they can get Kevin Knox going as well, that's where they have to get going. If they can be able to unlock that kid's potential, they have something special. I'm telling you, the Knicks. I had a segment on my show today. The segment was called "The Knicks Are Actually Watchable." They're really a watchable basketball team. They're fun to watch. They're really fun to watch. So kudos to them, man.
Yeah, I'm a big New York Knicks fan, and I've been waiting for a while to see this type of team, and we finally have one. I think the depth speaks to itself, because we have more depth this year. I love what they did in free agency, and with Austin Rivers, and then Quickly, man, this guy from the draft, Quickly, this guy can play. This guy can fly out. And I think he's gonna be our future starting point guard pretty soon.
It's possible.
Shot creator, man. Emmanuel Quickly. One of the things that I praised the Knicks about in the draft, because a lot of people said that taking Emmanuel Quickly in the back end of the first round was a reach, and maybe it was. But the big thing about the Knicks, and normally they don't do this in the draft, and I'm really glad they did it this year, is they went for guys that showed legitimate production in college, right? Like Obi Toppin was the National Player of the Year. Emmanuel Quickly was the SEC Player of the Year.
Right.
Like these are guys that these aren't guys that have massive potential and just massive potential. They have potential, and they produced in college. They scored. They got the ball a lot. They developed. Like Obi Toppin was the best player in the country at Dayton. Emmanuel Quickly was Kentucky's best player. Like, they took guys that actually put up numbers and produced in college, and I gave them a lot of credit for that.
Yeah, the Knicks hit a home run in this draft, man. How they approached the draft as well as free agency we may be seeing a new regime with the New York Knicks that we're not used to. And it's
Leon Rose.
Yeah, it's a good thing because patience sometimes is what the Knicks they've never had that, right? It's always been, we got to chase the front. We got to chase the headlines. We got to get this player. We got to get this player. Every Knicks fan, I used to always make fun of them and say, you guys are the most knowledgeable fans around the NBA because you know everybody else's player. And you always know everybody else's player because you think that they're going to come here instead of developing your own talent. Now what I'm seeing is that they're finally starting to realize that if you develop your guys here, you don't need to poach anybody else's stars. You don't have to go out there and go get a big name in free agency. You can just get pieces in free agency to add to what you already have. Now, the Knicks may not have a superstar player on their roster, but they have a lot of good young pieces that can be able to turn into a really, really great functional team for 5, 6, 7 years down the line. And that's what you're looking for. If they can be able to, if one of these guys can be able to become a superstar like RJ Barrett or Obi Toppin, great. That's a plus for you. But at the same time, they're building the organization the right way. Foundational. Right. That's what you need. It's not about a quick fix. It's about the long haul. So, I got to give the Knicks a ton of credit. Trust me. Mm-hmm. It's hard for me to say. I got to give them a ton of credit.
Yeah, this is and then plus the kudos to the front office, Leon Rose and Worldwide West. I love what they're doing, and man, I can't wait till the fans come back into the Mecca because once they come back to the Mecca, it's gonna be rocking for sure.
Yeah. But you were talking about the Nets though. Let's talk about
I want to get more in depth with the Nets because I'm really concerned the way they're playing, and obviously they're still trying to bring the chemistry together. But I just want to get both of your takes. What's the reasoning why they're struggling so much? And obviously Kevin Durant won't be there for 3 games because of the protocol situation. So what do you guys think? Do you think they can withstand that without Kevin Durant? And obviously Spencer Dinwiddie's out for the season. Do you think they have enough depth to make up ground here in the next 3-4 games?
Go ahead, Mike. I'll take it after.
Yeah, I don't think the Nets are going to altogether fall apart. I never thought that was, their problem. I think that, I had my questions about the Nets from the beginning of the season just because we know what Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are, right? What Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving are both oddball, like Kyrie Irving's burning sage and like the TD Banker. Like he's just a weird guy. You know what I mean? Like Kevin Durant, same thing. We kind of view him as a little bit of a softie and a guy with burner accounts and all that. Like, you know what I mean? He's just, these guys are kind of, we get worried about him a little bit. But the other thing is that Kevin Durant really needs the ball to be effective, right? Kyrie Irving especially needs the ball to be effective. They both can't have the ball at the same time. Right. You know what I mean? You got to keep in mind also, Kyrie Irving and Kevin Durant are not the only talented players on that team. Karis LeVert's a 20-plus point per game scorer. Joe Harris is one of the best shooters in the league. They got 2 legitimate big men that serve their role, right? Like this is a team that has legitimate talent on this roster. And I think the biggest mistake that the Nets made over the past couple of seasons was firing Kenny Atkinson. Right. I thought that was an absolute horrible mistake because you are sacrificing 100% of your player development staff, right? Like one of the things that Kenny Atkinson was known for around the league is his way with young players, getting them to fulfill their potential. Because, and Niffin, you know this, just as well as anybody else, the Nets got better with the roster that they had when they were terrible, right? Like Joe Harris was a nobody. Spencer Dinwiddie was a nobody. And all of a sudden they become legitimate contributing NBA players, some of the better bench players in the league. Like it was that sort of effect. And they pretty much, what I say is the Brooklyn Nets to me are like they're the Illuminati team of the league. Right? They sold their souls to the devil because they wanted all they wanted to become from rags to riches.
Right.
They wanted to get Kevin Durant. They wanted to get Kyrie Irving and get it now, right? They hire Steve Nash as the coach. Like, they wanted to be the Clippers. They wanted to be one of these big championship teams. If with just a little bit of patience, I think they could have been that with the roster that they had built around them. So I think that really is what their issue is now.
Right.
Yeah, listen, I fully agree with that 100%. I'm going to take it a little further, though. I think not only are those some problems that they have, but they have big defensive problems.
Yeah,
they do.
Like, and the problem with them defensively is that you got 3 coaches that are sitting on that sideline that were never great defenders. Mike D'Antoni, Steve Nash, Amari Stoudemire. You have these guys. So who's coaching the defensive concepts on this team? You see when in the games, there's a lot of confusion of where guys are supposed to be. Are you supposed to be fighting over screens? Are you supposed to be switching? Are you supposed to be able to nobody's recognizing, like, the staggered screens. There's a whole bunch of miscommunication. And for guys on the court that are really, really decent defenders, Kevin Durant is a decent defender. Jared Allen's a decent defender. Kyrie has never been a great defender, but if they don't have the team defense concept down, they're going to struggle. And I don't know who on that staff is going to teach them that.
Right.
So this may be a problem that they face all season in regards to how bad they are defensively. They're going to be a great offensive team. They have a lot of weapons offensively, but they're going to give up a ton of points. So this may be a situation where they look more like the Phoenix Suns that Steve Nash used to play on. And also they're going to look like them in the playoffs too. When you need a defensive stop, you can't get one. And this
I like that comparison.
And this is why they've never gotten to an NBA final. So, and also too, Steve Nash's demeanor. I like his demeanor on the sidelines. However, he's a little bit too much Phil Jackson to me. There's a lot of times where the other team will go on a 15-2 run and he's just sitting there. No timeout. You have to call timeouts. You got to make sure that you're breaking things up. He's a rookie head coach. There's going to be a lot that he has to learn. That's something that he's going to have to learn. Instead of trying to say, oh, I'll let my players figure it out. No. You're the head coach.
Yeah.
You got to make sure that they figure it out.
Sometimes you got to yell and scream at your guys.
Yeah, exactly. Sometimes you gotta call that timeout and get in their asses because they have a tendency of being very laid back. KD is he's not a real fiery guy. Kyrie isn't either. Somebody has to light a fire under that team, and if the coach is not doing it, D'Antoni may be able to do it, but you need your head coach to be able to do that as well. So This was one of the reasons why I called the Nets the big top Nets to start the season, because there's a lot of combustible things here. It can go really well, or it can be a big disaster and be a complete circus.
Right.
So we're going to see exactly where they go. It's early. I didn't think that they were going to be world beaters to start the season anyway. You're not going to get an idea about who they are until about 20, 25 games in. So, let's see how they do within that time frame.
Yeah. So this is where my next question leads to with the head coaching situation, because I was surprised that I was surprised that Kevin Durant and Kyrie signed off on the Steve Nash situation, and the reason why is I really thought they would go for obviously a veteran coach, and Tom Thibodeau or Mark Jackson would have been perfect fits in my opinion, or stick with Jack Vaughn and see how that goes. But I think they need a coach where obviously their coaching staff, the whole coaching staff is not known for defensive minded coaches. For example, Mike D'Antoni, no. Steve Nash, no. Ime Udoka, probably yes. But they need another coach with them to utilize the defense, and that's what I'm really concerned with. But I'm sticking with my finals pick is the Nets and the Lakers, but let's see how it goes. But I think the Nets' biggest question for me now is depth. Can they obviously with Dinwiddie out, and they didn't do really too much in free agency except get Jeff Green and then Landry Shamet. Landry Shamet has been struggling. I really thought he was going to be fit in well, but he's a new player, so he needs to take some time. But I think their depth. They need another player or two, I mentioned this to you, Barry. Ronnie Hood
Yeah.
or some kind of player that plays like Ronnie Hood. They need another 3-and-D guy, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I mean, the Nets, where they're going to thrive, and we talked about this before, Nathan, that the buyout market is where they're going to be able to find a player. You know, they don't need another young player. They need a veteran player to be able to come in there and kind of put things together. They need somebody who's been there before and has that experience to kind of maybe be a locker room leader. Because when you're thinking about Kyrie and KD, are they leaders? No. When you think about Steve Nash, yes, he was definitely a leader when he played. But can Steve Nash be the voice that they need in that locker room? I don't think so. They may need a player that can be able to kind of put everything together. So that's where I think they're going to be able to kind of pinpoint in the buyout market to see if they can be able to get a guy like that kind of, puts the pieces together.
Yeah, Nathan, you said that that you think that the Nets need another 3-and-D guy. I'm not sure that they need a 3-and-D guy because I usually have a philosophy when it comes to this. If in most cases that I've seen, when teams say that they need another 3-and-D guy, what you actually need is kind of a two-way stretch power forward, right? You need a guy that can because to me what that translates to is you're not spacing the floor enough, right? And for a team like the Nets, you should be able to space the floor with how many guys that you have that can shoot threes, right? But what I've seen is that you've got really inconsistent shooters, especially in your front court. Guys like Taurean Prince and Rodions Kuruc, like a lot of those guys, like they can play, but they're very inconsistent as shooters. They haven't come into their own as offensive players yet. So, I kind of agree with you. But I think that, the bigger problem is that you don't necessarily need that guard wing player. You need that guy that, non-traditionally stretches the floor that can also play a little bit of combo defense.
Right. Maybe I had Bosan Nakbar on my show today. Maybe they should call him back.
He'll gladly take a contract for the Nets right now. Trust me.
Yeah, we had a great conversation with Bosan today, and
great.
He is. He was a great player back in the day.
Yeah, I remember him, man. He was good.
Stretch the floor. Actually, I sent your page to him. So
cool.
Yeah. But it's gonna be interesting to see how Brooklyn develops the season. And the one team I'm really disappointed in. I'm not saying they were a playoff team, but the way they're starting right now is the Wizards. I really thought with Westbrook and Bradley Beal, I thought they would click together. But like I said, Westbrook is all about the stats. He's not about the team. So I think the Wizards, obviously Houston won the trade in my opinion. John Wall is balling right now in Houston as we speak. But what do you think of the Wizards' ceiling now? And do you think they made a mistake by trading John Wall right away like this?
Mike, you want to get this verse or you want me to get it?
I'll let you take it.
Man.
You're a guy that has a lot of feelings on Russell Westbrook.
So Russell Westbrook, and bless his heart, he is a tremendous talent. Like, when you talk about guys who leave it all on the court, it's Westbrook. But the problem with that is that he sucks all of the energy out of your team.
Right.
When a guy like that does everything, he rebounds, he scores, he passes. What do the young players have to do to develop? How do they fit into the equation? It's always been a problem with Westbrook. If you realize, if you're going back to when KD and Harden left, when he started this triple-double run, you couldn't name another good player next to him. And then when they got Victor Oladipo for that 1 year, Victor Oladipo wasn't. I think he averaged about like 16 or 17 points that year. And then the following year, he got out of there, and that's when you start to see his points per game take off. So as good, he has always played with good players, but he kind of puts them keeps them in a box. Like they can't meet their potential playing with Westbrook.
Right.
And at 32 years old, he's not changing. This is who he is. He's not going to change. And a guy like Bradley Beal will never get affected because Bradley Beal is a special talent.
Yep.
But the other guys on the team are affected by how Westbrook plays. And they have to get a balance. Scott Brooks has to tell Westbrook that he has to dial it back. Getting triple doubles is not conducive to them winning games. I think if Westbrook realized that he can score 18 to 19 points a game, grab 7 or 8 rebounds, and assist 7 to 8 times a game, that is better than him trying to get every rebound, trying to get every assist, trying to shoot every shot. He needs balance. And if Scott Brooks can't do that, then Scott Brooks doesn't need to be the head coach on this team. Because if there's one guy that knows how Westbrook is, it's Scott Brooks.
Right.
If he can't get Westbrook to dial it back, then I don't know what the direction of this team will be. They're gonna have to try to find somebody else to pass on that message to the team.
Yeah, truthfully, I think the numbers speak for themselves when it comes to Russell Westbrook. Westbrook right now is averaging his lowest points per game since his sophomore season. This is his least efficient season, shooting 38.5% from the field. It's his second least efficient three-point shooting season since his sophomore year. I mean, Russell Westbrook is – and this is the thing. Like, you're going to look at the numbers and you're going to say, oh, what Russell Westbrook is averaging a triple-double, and that's fine, right? 20.5 points, almost 12 assists a game, and about 11 rebounds. Okay, on the surface, if you look at those numbers are great, right? But again, like you just said, it's very hard to get players that fit with Russell Westbrook because Westbrook demands the ball I mean, Russell Westbrook takes 20 shots a game. You know what I mean? Like, and he's a guy that doesn't shoot the ball efficiently at all. He makes his magic driving to the rim.
Yeah.
But for a guy that's so good at finishing through contact and getting to the rim with all that speed and athleticism, he takes a lot of jump shots. Like, it blows me away. He takes a lot of jump shots for a guy that theoretically can't shoot.
Right.
Like, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And if you look at the pieces I guess the totality of the pieces that are around Russell Westbrook on that roster, right? Outside of Bradley Beal, who's a very good catch and shoot guy who's developed into, a better shot creator as his years in the league have gone on. But like somebody that stands out to me as, somebody who's getting really good minutes early in his career is Deni Avdija, right? But Deni Avdija is not a shot creator.
No.
He's not a guy that demands the ball. But you also need to get him to Deni Avdija has to shoot more than 3 shots a game.
Right.
Because at that point, he's not even a threat. There's a difference between not hunting for shots and not being effective in the offense. Right? And I don't think that that's Deni Avdija's fault. I just don't think he's getting the ball enough. What Russell Westbrook has to do is, and I've always thought that he could benefit more from this, is if Russell Westbrook would accept a little bit to play a little bit more off ball, right? Like, not even serve as a 2 guard, but serve as less of a distributor and more as a get the ball passed to him and let him make a play for himself, right? Let Deni Avdija throw you the ball. Let Bradley Beal throw you the ball. Let Troy Brown throw you the ball, right? You have guys that have legitimate talent on the Washington Wizards. And again, like, he's a stat-stuffing machine. But we've also understood, and this is the same thing in every sport, right? In every serious team sport. Guys that put up massive numbers do not always translate to wins, especially when there's inefficiency. And that's Westbrook's biggest problem. He's the least efficient now than he's ever been in his entire career. And that translates to the Wizards struggling early on.
I really think the only way I think Westbrook will succeed is if he has his own team. So with no other stars around him, because I think that's where he messes up the chemistry. So if I was Bradley Beal, if the season, not now, but if the season continues to fall for the Wizards, I would go to the front office, request a trade, go to a team that's legitimate contenders, and I think Bradley Beal will fit with any other team, especially a team that's looking for another 3-point shooter, a defender, and who can create the shot. So I think Bradley Beal needs to find himself in a different team by the trade deadline. That's my opinion. I think that's the only way Westbrook will succeed in this rest of his
Well,
career.
well, I don't necessarily agree that he needs to ask for a trade. You know, I kind of agree with what Mike said, is that if you take Westbrook off the ball a little bit, like, he doesn't have to bring the ball up and create the offense every time down. Bradley Beal can do that. Bradley Beal can be the distributor. We saw what he did last season. He can be able to be that guy. So if they can kind of play off of each other, and it's going to take some time for Bradley Beal to really get to, okay, where does Westbrook like the ball? Where does he want to set up? Where does he want me to set up? Like, so, you know, it's going to take a little time, but are they going to struggle the whole season? I doubt it. I don't think that they're going to struggle to the point where they're going to be like a top 3 lottery team. No. They'll get it together. They'll have a win streak because Westbrook tends to play better as the season goes along. Even in Houston last year, started very slow.
Mm-hmm.
And then towards the middle of the season, he really took off. Like, the second half of the year, I think Westbrook was averaging like 30 points a game, 10 rebounds, 9 assists. So he kind of understood how he was fitting with Harden.
Right.
And I think he'll find a way to be able to find that balance between him and Beal, because Beal is not a selfish player like how Harden is. I think they'll be able to find a groove. And I think, like I said, it really, really depends on how Scott Brooks goes about this. This season is all about Scott Brooks. It's not about the players. It's about how Scott Brooks is going to be able to blend these personalities together, blend these young guys, and give them some importance into the offense. Just like what Mike was saying, give Deni Avdija some more confidence, give him some more shots, give him some more opportunities, give him a chance to fail. If you don't get enough shots, nobody knows if you can fail or not. You're just out there. So, you know, it's time for them to kind of like take the reins, you know, pull the reins back from Westbrook and let some other guys create it a little bit, because that's where the NBA is. You can't have just one playmaker. You need multiple playmakers. You can't just have one. This is not the olden days where you just have a 1-point guard, sets everybody up. You need guys that can be able to be versatile, that can play multiple positions, and can be able to create their own shots and create for everybody else.
Right.
Like I was saying before, it's become way more important in this year's in the NBA, and this year is proving it, like I said before, where playmaking, ball movement, and having guys that can create your own shot is the most important thing in the NBA.
Yep.
Yeah. I agree with you guys 100%. So, but before we switch gears again, I want to get your finals pick. I got the Nets and Lakers. I still feel confident in that with the Nets and Lakers, but I really do believe the Nets will turn it around soon, and they're going to get a piece, like you said, in the buyout market. So they're going to get a piece or two there. But what do you guys have as a finals pick?
Yeah, Mike.
So, all right, I'll go first. So I still, like I said before, I think there's a clear-cut best team in the West. I think there's a clear-cut best team in the East. I think the Lakers are going to blow everybody away through the Western playoffs unless something changes between now and then. And I think that the Milwaukee Bucks are clearly the best team in the East right now, just as far as, you know, pure ability to do everything. Adding Drew Holiday, I thought, was a really solid move and fits perfectly with what Giannis likes to do and everything like that. So Lakers, Bucks for me, and I would pick the Lakers in that series.
Yeah, I'm going the same thing. That was my pre-season pick. Lakers, Bucks, they're the two best teams in the NBA. The Bucks got better, just like what Mike said. You know, Drew Holiday is a dynamic point guard. Not only can he score for himself, he can set people up. And the one thing that everybody doesn't really talk about with Drew Holiday enough is that defensively, he can lock you up.
Yep.
He is a two-way player. And when you got a guy like that, because over the years, as good as Eric Bledsoe is not a championship point guard. Drew Holiday has championship DNA. He just has that type of ability that he can be a championship point guard. He has the ability. He has the leadership. He has the toughness. That's what they were missing. If they were able to get Bogdanovich, that would have really sealed the deal. They didn't get him. It's fine. They still have the pieces to get to the NBA Finals. The only problem is that I need to see Giannis take that leap in the playoffs. We all know how great he is in the regular season. He puts up tremendous numbers, historic numbers. I need to see that same type of historic trajectory into the playoffs. Everybody, Paul George is a regular season dynamo. Yep. But legends are made in the playoffs. So I need to see him kind of take that step and say, hey, listen, I want to be a championship player. I'm going to show you what championship players do in the playoffs, and that's what he has to do.
So you're a Lakers fan, right? Obviously, so so you got the Lakers.
Yeah, I got the Lakers. Listen, the Lakers right now. I mean, when I look around the league, I don't see any other team that has what they have.
No.
They have 10 guys that they can throw out there on a nightly basis, and they can beat you by 20.
Yep. And
here's the scary part. When the buyout market comes, they're going to go get themselves a rim protector.
Mm-hmm.
So when they get themselves a rim protector that they don't really need to use in the regular season, they'll use that rim protection come playoff time.
Right.
That's a scary dynamic to have. Marc Gasol, I'm like I said, I'm a Laker fan. You know that. I'm always on Laker blogs, Laker sites, and seeing what's going on. Laker fans have been killing Marc Gasol. They killed him for the first couple of games. What Marc Gasol brings to the Lakers is a passing ability I haven't seen since his brother was here, since Pau Gasol was here. That ability to be able to pass out of the post to anybody, bounce passes to cutting guys, dart passes into the corner for three. He is such a smart player that he brings that second unit together. It's amazing. It's really amazing to see. They have a ton of talent. The only thing that I would love to see, and I keep telling Mike about it, is that I need to see Dennis Schroeder come off the bench. I would love to see Schroeder come off the bench because I just think that it would be a little better for them, going down the road to have that second unit be so solid. But it's working for them right now. Whatever, they don't have to shake it up. But I do feel that sooner or later, Dennis Schroeder needs to come off the bench because him and Harold coming off that bench I think that's the best tandem in the NBA off the bench.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it could be boiled down to as simple as this. The Lakers have the best player in the world and they're the deepest team in the league.
Yeah, right.
No matter how you draw it up, that's a recipe for success. If you have the best player in the world and the deepest bench in the league, it's really hard to beat you.
Yeah.
So I want to switch gears real quick to the NFL. Obviously, with the season coming up over, with now the playoffs are starting, wild card. But before we get to that, I want to get to like the coaching carousel. I think this can be the biggest news of the offseason, where the coaches end up. I think this is where I love about the NFL. The fun part is the coaching, where they're going to go. And obviously, we got some firings with Adam Gase, Anthony Lynn, and obviously Doug Marrone from Jacksonville, and Urban Meyer has been linked to Jacksonville. But I just want to get your takes on what do you think the Jets will do, the Chargers will do, and I think they're going to interview Jason Garrett for the head coaching job. But what do you guys think of this coaching carousel so far, and where do you think these coaches will end up prediction-wise?
Well, I said on my show today that I have 3 head coaches that I would love to see the Jets target. The first one is going to be Eric Bieniemy. Yes. I think Eric Bieniemy is a hell of a coach. He reminds me of Mike Tomlin. He has that type of leadership. He's very charismatic. He's tough. He's smart. Andy Reid loves him. The league respects him. I think he'd be a great fit for the Jets. The other guy that I think would be an awesome fit for the Jets is Brian Daboll, the offensive coordinator for the Bills. That guy, to me, I just every time I listen to him, every time I see his mannerism, every time I hear him talk football, he just screams head coach to me.
Right.
And he's obviously he comes from that Belichick tree. He knows exactly what he wants. He knows what to get out of his players. He's shown this year offensively that he really knows what he's doing. That Bills offense is dynamic. And the other guy is the elephant in the room. The guy that everybody wants to talk about, but they really don't want to talk about because they don't want to ruffle any feathers because he's still under contract for another team. That is Jim Harbaugh.
Huh.
I think if Jim Harbaugh, because I think he has an eye on that Jets job. That's why he hasn't taken that Michigan extension yet. I don't know why Michigan wants to sign him back. He's had a horrible tenure there, but they want him because I think the reason why they want him is because they know that if he goes anywhere else, he is a difference maker in another situation. That's what Jim Harbaugh does. If you allow him to just be him, he can be able to create magic. The problem with Jim Harbaugh is that he rubs a lot of people the wrong way. So if he can be able to develop that chemistry in the front office with the GM, with the owner, then that chemistry, that synergy will be fine. But if there's any indecision in that front office, you bring in a Jim Harbaugh, it's not going to be a great idea. So I think he's trying to figure out how he fits in a Jets situation. But I really do think that he would have a good tenure here, whether it be Sam Darnold, whether they draft Justin Fields or Zach Wilson, whoever. I think that whatever quarterback he gets, if he's the head coach of the Jets, they will be in good hands.
I thought Harvard took that deal.
Not yet.
Huh.
Not yet.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I look. if I'm the I don't want to completely center this conversation on the Jets, but I think that they have the most I guess talked about head coaching opening just because their last one was so awful. But you know what? If I'm the Jets, and I've been really thinking about this over the past couple of days, I think that the better move for them would be to hire somebody that isn't going to make your expectations skyrocket, right? Like, if you hire Jim Harbaugh, if you hire Urban Meyer, and look, if you can get – I'll put a little asterisk next to Urban Meyer, because if you can get Urban Meyer, get Urban Meyer.
Right.
But, if you hire somebody that has a lot of backing towards them, right? They've got this big, high expectation thing that's around them. I think the Jets should more than likely avoid them, because again, if they don't turn out to be what you want them to be, then here we go, same old. You know what I mean? Like, at least if you get Brian Dable wrong, you at least have an excuse. Well, he had one good year in Buffalo. Come on, you know what I mean? So I think that there is something to be had there. I find it really interesting that Urban Meyer would consider coming out of coaching retirement for Jacksonville.
Yeah.
I think the only reason he would take that job is because that the Jags are going to get Trevor Lawrence.
Right. And you're giving him a ton of money.
Urban Meyer's saying, hey, look, Trevor Lawrence is the best quarterback that we've seen in a draft since Andrew Luck, and he might be better than Andrew Luck. So, I think that there's a little bit of something there too. And I will say this about the Chargers as well. I think that firing Anthony Lynn was the right move, but if they want to ensure that Justin Herbert regresses or fails as a quarterback, they will hire Jason Garrett. If they want to ensure that Justin Herbert is a bust, then they will hire Jason Garrett. Jason Garrett should not sniff an NFL job. I am not sniff it.
I am going to second that, Mike Guido. I don't know how Jason Garrett is in any talks to be any head coach in any NFL. Yep. You need to, if you want to stay a coordinator, that's fine. You want to go to college, do that. Head coach, no. So they better not do that to Justin Herbert. That kid has too much potential to be wasted with Jason Garrett.
Can I tell you who I think would be the perfect fit in New York?
Yeah.
Honestly, perfect fit, because I think he would provide a significant culture change within the personnel.
Let's hear it.
Jack Del Rio.
What?
I like Jack Del Rio.
Wow. Okay.
Jack Del Rio. Because, look, that Washington defense is good.
Yeah.
That front seven is nasty, right? If one thing that we can say about Washington, and they're not an amazing football team, even though I do think that they're going to give Tampa Bay problems.
Yeah.
But one thing that we can ensure is that Ron Rivera and Jack Del Rio have completely shifted the culture in Washington, and they went from being a laughingstock to saying, well, all right, how about them Washington football team, right? Like, that's how you feel about them. Jack Del Rio look, he's a no-nonsense guy. He's a more likable Greg Williams. That's the way that I see it. And he's not as much of a dirty play guy. You know, I think he'll shift the culture. And again, like, that should be the number one priority for a lot of these dysfunctional franchises, right? Somebody, teams like Detroit and, the Jets and Jacksonville and stuff like that. You have to hire a guy where their biggest thing is they bring another attitude. They bring another style of play, another culture shift. Right? Like, that's the most important thing. Look at the New York Giants this year, right? And the Giants weren't amazing, but you could attribute that to them not having any talent. Right? But Joe Judge was fantastic, and Joe Judge was a nobody.
Yeah.
And Joe Judge was a special teams coordinator. He was a wide receiver coach. Like, who the hell is Joe Judge?
Yeah.
But one thing that he had was culture.
Yep.
Right? He has somebody, like, you want to run through a brick wall with Joe Judge. I said the same thing about Matt Rule, right?
Yep.
Like, you want to run through a wall with those guys. I think the Jets would want to run through a wall with Jack Del Rio.
Yeah, that's a good take. I like that. I think Jack Del Rio would be a perfect fit. But I'm a big Dallas Cowboy fan, and
we all are.
Yeah, it's like crazy. Mike McCarthy made a Jason Garrett move on that game where he should have challenged that play against Giants, the Pettis incomplete pass. That was clearly an incomplete pass. So do you think Mike McCarthy's on a short leash next year? If we don't get anything done by next year, do you think he'll be gone?
No, I don't.
No, I don't. And the only reason why me and Mike think that is because Jerry Jones is very prideful. He's not going to admit to that mistake. There's no way. There's no way he's going to do that. He's going to make sure that he gives Mike McCarthy all the tools he needs to be successful, because he needs Mike McCarthy to be successful, because things have not gone Jerry's way in regards to his coaching prowess over the last decade and change. So he needs Mike McCarthy to work out.
Yeah.
It would be a disaster if he would have to fire Mike McCarthy and do this all over again. I'm telling you.
Yeah, I agree. I think, I think that's part of the reason. I don't think it's the whole reason, but I agree with you completely. Look, Jerry Jones held on to Jason Garrett for a decade, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that he would move off Mike. And I think Mike McCarthy is a way better football coach than Jason Garrett. I think that's just
obviously, yeah, yep.
Right. I mean, Mike, look, one of the things that I said from the beginning of the season, okay, and you can think whatever you want about Mike McCarthy, and you can, maybe he's not a great fit with this team, or maybe he's not, maybe he's a little bit old-fashioned, or you can think whatever you want about Mike McCarthy. But the one thing that we can ensure about Mike McCarthy, and Barry, you know this because I've said it a bunch of times, is that Mike McCarthy definitely is not a bad football coach.
No.
Right? Like, he has been around the block for a long time. He's worked for some seriously good coaches in the NFL. He had a really nice run in Green Bay. Mike McCarthy can definitely coach in this league. And you even saw towards the end of the season, right, especially after the bye and even going into the bye, the Cowboys just started making those adjustments that we didn't – we were even, pumping the brakes on firing Mike Nolan because the defense looked a little better.
Yeah.
Right? It's the late adjustments that I think can turn that around. Plus, obviously, Dak Prescott getting hurt didn't help either. But you got to give Andy Dalton credit. He didn't play terrible either. So my point is that I think that the primary reason is that I don't think Jerry Jones is going to give up on him quickly. because, again, he held on to Jason Garrett for 10 years. I have no reason to believe that he'll let Mike McCarthy go after 2, And the other part of it is that, like, deep down, I think most of us realize as much as as much as our conscience would like to say otherwise, like, Mike McCarthy is not a bad football coach. And I think Jerry Jones knows that also.
Right. And also, too, like, me and Mike talked about this ad nauseum, the entire season, is that as good as Mike McCarthy is, as good as Mike Nolan may be or may not be, the players are the ones that are accountable.
Yes.
There's a lot of bad players on this team that need to go. Yeah. There's a lot of ego on this team that needs to be expunged off this team. We saw in that that game with the Giants that your big money man, Ezekiel Elliott, cannot go an entire drive being the guy. He has to come out. He has to take a breather. He has to that's not what you're paying him $16 million for. You need him to be able to be a dog, be that Derrick Henry that we can just give you we can give you the ball for an entire drive, destroy the defense, move the ball downfield, get a score, and then you can rest. We don't have that. We don't have that. There was a time where I think it was like a 3rd and 7 pass. Dalton gives him a nice pass on the sidelines. He gets the first down. He asks to come out of the game. The offense is running. We have momentum now, and you're coming out. That is not a $16 million type of player. You can't have that. So there's a lot of things on this team that needs to be changed personnel-wise. That has nothing to do with Mike McCarthy. Yeah, of course, Mike McCarthy made some bad decisions in the season. Absolutely. Mike Nolan's made some bad decisions in the season. But the players have to be accountable, and they are not. They are not being held accountable the way they should be. And this offseason is going to be very telling because I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot of guys that are going to get their contracts restructured. And if Zeke does not want to take a restructure, Zeke will be gone.
Speaking of
if I could just say one more thing, Nathan, before we move on. I have a checklist. There's 4 things that the Cowboys need to do in the offseason. Yeah. Okay. One of them actually is not paying Dak Prescott. I don't think that's on the list.
I think we should draft. Do you think we should draft a quarterback?
Yes.
Yeah.
If there's a guy available, yes, I do. But 4 things. You need to cut or restructure Ezekiel Elliott.
Right.
You need to cut or restructure Tyron Smith. You need to cut or restructure Jalen Smith.
Right.
And you also, and this isn't even a restructure option. You have to cut Tyrone Crawford.
Yes.
You have to cut. You have to get at least loosen all of that money so that it opens up room for if you want to re-sign Leighton Vander Esch or if you want to, re-sign Michael Gallup or somebody like that. You want to open up some money in the later years when you want to re-sign CeeDee Lamb, right? You want to be able to get all of those things done. Guys like Trayvon Diggs, you're going to want to keep around in the next couple of years, right? Like you want to get all of these things done. Having those locked in contracts is really going to hurt you, especially for guys that have been playing poorly recently or in Tyron Smith's case, hasn't been playing at all.
Right. I agree.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Derrick Henry, shout out to him for over 2,000 yards. That's crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah, beast.
2K yards, man. That's amazing in one season. That's insane. But as a Cowboy fan, we just need some kind of light in the tunnel, man. This has been the longest drought we have ever seen. But I think, to be honest, obviously the keepers are Sean Lee if he wants to come back or if he wants to retire. We don't know about his situation, but I think we need to improve on the linebacker crew, like you guys said. I think Jalen. That's a surprise, though. You really think they're going to cut Jalen Smith, huh?
I don't think that they should cut him. They need to restructure his contract. Definitely, listen. All of these guys, if Zeke, I don't want to get rid of Zeke, but if he doesn't want to play ball in regards to restructuring, there's nothing you can do then. You have to get rid of him. The same thing with Jalen Smith. It's like, we like you, but you have to restructure that deal so we can be able to improve the team in other facets. So, if we don't have that type of cap flexibility, guys are gonna have to go.
Yeah, I look, I wouldn't necessarily cut Jalen Smith right away. I would light a fire under his ass and say, look, you better start playing better or we're going to, take some necessary action.
Right.
And in Zeke's case, and especially in Zeke's case, Tony Pollard can play.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
In Jalen Smith's case, Jalen Smith can say, well, look, it's not like you got anybody to back me up.
Right.
Like, you can't bench me. Right? In Zeke's case, we could say, oh, yeah, we can.
Oh, yeah.
Tony Pollard's pretty fast and electric.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
I think we can get away with it. So, again, and look, this is not to say that these are bad players. Zeke is not a bad player, okay? Zeke, I think, doesn't have as much gas as he did in his rookie year, but I think that's really hard to expect out of a guy who got drafted 5 years ago. You know what I mean? So I think that Zeke still has stuff in him. Is he a $15 million running back? No, he isn't. But can he be a $12 million running back that, again, this is the thing that I want to see from Zeke. Okay. If he can show me in the next year that he still has that home run ability. And I think a lot of the lack of that was due to a really injured offensive line, right? All three of us know that we were playing backups along the offensive line across the board.
Right.
Right. Like every single position was a backup except for Connor Williams at left guard. Like that was it. So if that can improve and Zeke can, again, move in that rightful direction, then okay, fine, I can live.
Right.
Yeah. I know it's too early to predict for next year, but the upcoming year. But I have a scenario where the Cowboys can improve their running back situation. If, like you guys said, if Zeke plays hardball with this restructure, just cut him. Keep Tony Pollard as a starter. Sign a veteran running back that can help us with Tony Pollard, help him along the way. I'm not like, for example, I don't know if Frank Gore would be a perfect fit, but I don't know. I would take a chance on Frank Gore, but if not, sign a veteran running back that can relate to Tony Pollard, and because next year, I just wrote an article on this 2021 prospect from University of Buffalo, running back Dylan McDuffie. This is a name you should be watching for next year because I think he's going to have a breakout year this upcoming college football season, and if he's going to build his draft stock. I think if everything works out well for Dallas, and I think the Cowboys should be keep an eye on this name right now, Dylan McDuffie, for next year. But I think the solution is if Zeke doesn't want to play here, then get rid of him. Keep Tony Pollard, sign a veteran running back, or trade for a cheap running back. I think that's a solution right there.
Yeah, listen, I will agree with you. I don't think that Gore would be the answer. I would more look at a guy like Adrian Peterson. I still see Adrian Peterson with that speed bird. I saw him break a big run on Sunday the guy is just phenomenal. If you put him with a really, really good offensive line and, he's a secondary piece in regards to, your running back committee, that's a good 1-2 punch. That's something, you have good goal line right there with Adrian Peterson. You have breakaway speed with Tony Pollard. You have the ability to catch the ball out of the backfield with Tony Pollard. So, the only thing with Tony Pollard is that his pass pro needs to get a little better. But once his pass pro gets better, he's going to be a dynamic back. I like that idea. So we'll see what happens.
Can I throw
in
an
the
option
offseason.
out there?
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I like the veteran running back idea. Can I throw an option out here?
Well, yeah.
This is why we're here for, right?
How about Le'Veon Bell?
Oh, yes. You hit it on the nail. You hit it on the head. Yes.
Okay.
Because
yes.
Le'Veon Bell is not. He's not going back to Kansas City, right?
Oh, Mike,
he's going to look for a job somewhere else.
But here's the problem:
he's not going to demand big money.
Does Le'Veon Bell have anything left?
I mean,
I don't need him to have anything left. What I need him to do, what I need Le'Veon Bell to do is carry the ball 10 times a game.
He could do that
and get 45 yards. Can he do that?
Yeah, he can do that.
I think he can.
He can
right?
do that.
And plus, Le'Veon Bell is the shiftiest, most patient running back I maybe have ever seen. right? He sits behind the offensive line, waits for the cuts, right? He's the most patient running back I've ever seen.
Yeah.
You don't think Tony Pollard could benefit from that? Like,
as well as his pass catching ability, he can be able to pass that on to Pollard
that's what
as
I
well.
mean. I think, and look, Le'Veon Bell at this point in his career is a veteran. He's going to be 29 next year.
Yeah.
Right. So, bring him in, and again, you're not going to be paying him anything. You're paying him as much as a 4th-round draft pick.
Guys, I like it. Nathan had Frank Gore. I had Adrian Peterson. You got Le'Veon Bell.
So now,
that's fine.
Okay, now it's gonna be up to Jerry Jones. Not Jerry Jones. To be honest, I think Jerry Jones needs to give the GM job to Stephen Jones and let him run the team, because this is what messing up. This is my opinion. I think this is why we're messing up every year, because Jerry Jones is also the GM. I don't like it.
Yeah.
I think he needs to focus on being the owner. Give Stephen Jones the chance to be a GM, because I think Stephen Jones I like him.
He's made a bunch of good decisions.
Yeah.
Stephen Jones knows football. He knows football.
So I think they need to leave it up to him. But I really like I really like those 3 names right now: Frank Gore, Le'Veon Bell. Mike, you hit it on the head. I think Le'Veon Bell. I think Le'Veon Bell is a perfect fit for Dallas with Tony Pollard. I think Tony Pollard can be like another Le'Veon Bell, in my opinion. And actually, in the article I wrote for Dylan, you guys check that article out. I compared Dylan McDuffie to Alvin Kamara and Le'Veon Bell. So
okay.
Yeah, he's that good.
I'm in.
University of Buffalo. I think that's the name everybody should be watching for.
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, but so now switching gears to the playoffs. This is the exciting part, because I talked about this with my friends today at the gym I go to, and they're shocked what I'm about to say. I think
let's hear it.
I'm gonna say it right now. I think this playoffs there's gonna be a few upsets for me. The first one is I think the Bills are gonna run away to the AFC Championship, and I think they're gonna beat the Chiefs. They're gonna go to the Super Bowl. That's how legit the Bills are. I think Josh Allen is playing out of his mind. The defense is good, and the offensive coordinator, he knows how to call his plays. I think the Bills have a chance to beat the Chiefs and upset them, go to the Super Bowl. That's you heard it here first. The Bills are going to the Super Bowl.
Well, that's not an upset. That's not an upset to me. Honestly, I think the Bills are the best team in the AFC right now.
I think the Bills are the best team in the NFL right now. I genuinely look.
I still got the pack, man. I still got the Packers.
I tweeted on Sunday that the Buffalo Bills, I think, are the Super Bowl favorite.
Yeah.
So that's not crazy. I think Buffalo's legit also.
Yeah, definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So what's the next upset?
All right. So the next one, I really think in the NFC, I'm all right. I know Tampa Bay has been heating up lately, but I can't go against the Washington defense. And
wow.
I think I hate to say this. I hate to say this. Listen, I hate to say
this.
That's
a hot take.
Yeah, I hate to say this as a Dallas Cowboys fan, but I really like the way how Washington is playing. They have a chip on their shoulder. Alex Smith, man, this guy is the comeback player of the year. If they don't give that man the comeback player of the year, there's something wrong. Something's rigged. But I think Alex Smith, coming from 17 surgeries, he's 5-1 as a starter this year. Their defense is loaded. Chase Young, man, this guy's a stud. I really do believe they have a chance to knock off the Buccaneers in the first round.
Yeah, look, that's not crazy either. Think about this. So I talked about this on Monday on my show, and I brought up the fact that I'm not certain I feel comfortable with saying that Washington is going to flat out win the game. Yeah. But I do think Washington is going to give Tampa Bay problems, because Tom Brady this year, there's a couple of notes on Tom Brady here. Tom Brady against teams that have elite pass rushes has struggled, period. Tom Brady's not mobile. He's not the guy's a statue, right? When he lost to New Orleans twice, right? That's Trey Hendrickson. That's Cameron Jordan. That's those big boys, right? Kansas City, that's Frank Clark. That's Chris Jones. That's those guys. The Rams, that's Aaron Donald. That's Michael Brockers, Leonard Floyd. The Bears, that's Khalil Mack and Robert Quinn and Akeem Hicks and guys like these are real pass rushers. Okay, teams that have these elite guys that can get after the quarterback give Tom Brady problems. And the other part about this is that there's no guarantee that Mike Evans plays in that game also, but also Tom Brady's quarterback rating on balls thrown more than 20 yards in the air is 59.
Yeah.
It's absolutely atrocious, right? Like Sam Darnold this year, I think has a 72 quarterback rating and everybody wants to move off him. Like Tom Brady this year as a deep ball thrower hasn't been good at all. So I don't think that that's crazy either. If he's going to be facing a lot of pressure in that game and going to be forced to make some big plays, that's not a good matchup for Tampa Bay. It just isn't.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Listen, I have to agree, man. I have to agree. I think, we've all seen the formula of what it takes to beat Tom Brady. If you have an elite pass rush, you can beat Tom Brady. And the Washington football team, they have those young boys on that line that they are relentless and they do not stop. It's every play. And just like you guys were saying, Jack Del Rio has a lot of interesting, schemes and exotic blitz packages that he can be able to throw at Tom Brady. So we're going to see what happens with that game. I like Washington's defense. I love it. They're going to be in the game because of that. The only part that scares me is offensively, can they be able to move the ball enough to score points to be able to beat this team?
Agreed.
Can they score points? Can they get into the red zone and get 6 instead of getting 3? If they can be able to put up 6s, they have a chance to actually upset the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. If they get into the red zone and they're getting 3, they have no shot. They have no shot.
Yeah, it's really interesting going to see, but I really think Washington is. I think that's a team that can knock off the Buccaneers, in my opinion. And but I would you consider? I got the Browns beating the Steelers too. I think.
No way. No. No way. The Steelers have been my team the whole year. They are my dark horse team to get to the Super Bowl. I've been telling Guido all year. There's something with
real
the
dark
Steelers.
Horse. Started the season 11-0. They're a dark horse.
Listen, even before the season started, I like the Steelers. So I'm still sticking with them because, like I said, they win ugly. Right. I like teams that win ugly because it translates into playoff football. If they can be able to continue to win ugly, if they can find a semblance of a running game, they can go on a run. I'm telling you right now. It doesn't take that. If they can find a way to get James Conner in space and maybe they use some Snell, maybe they kind of go with a committee and go with 3 guys instead of just 1 or 2. If they can find a groove in their running game, they will have a shot to go deep into the playoffs. I'm telling you, dark horse.
So so before the last couple of things, I got to get your Super Bowl picks. What's your Super Bowl picks?
Super Bowl pick for me personally is going to be Packers, Bills. Or if I'm going to go with my dark horse, it'd be Packers, Steelers.
You're annoying, Barry. The sad part is that I agree with you. I think it's going to be Packers,
there
Bills.
You go.
And they're playing the best football right now. Aaron Rodgers is, I think, right now the clear-cut MVP in the NFL.
MVP, baby.
And Buffalo is, as a team, playing the best football. They are elite on both sides of the football. They're extremely well coached. I would take I got Green Bay and Buffalo, and I have Buffalo winning the Super Bowl.
I talk about this all the time, Nathan, is that when a team has the holy trinity of football, it's very hard for them to lose. And the Bills have the holy trinity of football. Good ownership, good head coach, good quarterback. When you have that particular holy trinity of football, it's very hard to lose. The Patriots have had that for 20 years. This is why they had success. When the Cowboys were winning, they had that type of success. You need that type of stability in your front office as well as the field, and that's when you're going to start seeing things happen, and that's what the Bills have. That's why they're the most they're everybody's darling right now. Like, everybody's a Bills fan. Everybody loves what they're seeing out of this organization because they built it so good. Like, it was just piece by piece by piece by piece. And, you know, that trade for Stephon Diggs just put it over the top. And it was really, really, really good to see. I love to see. I love the progress that this organization has made over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
You know, so it's really fun to watch.
Yeah, I got
Cubs.
Yeah, the Cubs.
Yeah, definitely, man. Definitely. I agree with that. That's a good
that's a good comparison right there.
Yeah.
I got two scenarios. Bills, I got the Bills Packers or the Bills Seahawks. I really do believe in the Seahawks. And Russell Wilson, man, you can't count him out in any playoff game. And I really do believe in Pete Carroll. I love Pete Carroll, obviously, as a coach. So I think it's going to end up being the Bills Packers, though, and the Bills winning the Super Bowl. I really do think the Bills, they're going to finish the season off with the trophy, man. This is how good they are.
It's going to – listen, if it's going to be Bills Packers, that's going to be a very good Super Bowl. Very good Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Really entertaining. I'm worried about the Seahawks, though.
Yeah, me too.
Russell Wilson isn't my issue.
It's the defense.
That roster is absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
They're
bad.
It's terrible.
They're bad. And the thing is, Nathan, you gotta watch out for this. Is that as good as DK Metcalf is, the one cornerback that owns him is Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
He owns him.
Owns him.
He owns DK. So if DK can be able to find a way to get away from Jalen Ramsey, maybe they have a shot. But Jalen Ramsey is physical. He is big. He knows exactly how to contain DK Metcalf.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But yeah. So the last two things here. What would you say your most memorable interview you guys have done on the show?
We haven't done any interviews yet, man.
Oh.
You know, we're actually starting to, like, you know, do that. So we're starting to, like, work on that now. So I think 2021 we'll start to have a lot more interviews, because what I think we're gonna start doing is kind of doing this format that you do.
Yeah.
You know, more Zoom stuff, so we can be able to have some guests on.
Yeah.
So we have, like I said, we have some things in the pipeline that we're kind of keeping a little close to the vest until we unleash it. But there's some things coming.
Yeah, that's why. Like I obviously you see my stuff. I've been doing it. I do interviews pretty much every day, and that's why I can't wait to see who's my new co-host. Hopefully sooner than later. But I'm working through all the process, so I'll be up to like this. I was up to 3 a.m. today, actually, reaching out to West Coast people. So
nice.
I'll be doing the same thing. I'm trying to get this done, man. I don't stop till I get everything done. So
yeah, keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. That's what got you here. So you gotta continue to do that. Like I said, you're a humble dude. You're gonna go places with that attitude. So you just gotta continue to do it, man.
I just need that co-host, man, by the end of February. Before
I
that.
hear you.
But yeah. So the last thing here, tell everyone where they can find you guys and social media platforms, or where they can listen to you guys.
Yeah, y'all. Well, you can listen to me at All Even Podcast on Instagram, at All Even Podcast on Twitter. I'm on a whole bunch of platforms. So if you go on Spotify, you can listen to my podcast, YouTube, all over the place. Me and Mike Guido, we have our show every Wednesday, whether it be 5 or 5:30, All Even Live. Mike Guido, he has his Guido's Gridiron podcast, with the Landry Football Network every Monday and Friday. So go ahead and plug that. I'll let you plug the rest of that, Mike.
Yeah, if you want to reach out to me, look, I'm at Mike Guido on Instagram. I'm at Mike Guido 49 on Twitter. You can reach out to me there. You can interact with my show. I'm on the Landry Football Podcast Network every Monday and Friday from 2 o'clock to 3 o'clock Eastern in the afternoon. Again, you can find that on Twitch. You can find that on LandryFootball.com. All of this stuff, I'm going to be around everywhere, so you can find me. I'm not that hard to find. And again, you can roast me for how bad my takes are, and we're going to have fun with that. So,
yeah. So this has been awesome, man. Thanks to both of you for joining. I'll be uploading this on all social media formats so people see this. Obviously, I would like to be on your show one day too, and
Of course.
to get it going. And hopefully, I can have my co-host so we can do like a roundtable discussion. So.
Oh yeah, that'd be fun.
Absolutely.
That'd be fun.
But thank you guys. Have a good night. Stay safe, and let's go.